Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here today. I have been selected by our governor to direct the state's Emergency Management Division. In this presentation, I will touch on a few key elements that make State Emergency Management Division efficient and effective. A little bit about myself. My name is Jeff Rourke. I've been appointed the South Carolina Director of Emergency Management. I was previously the Fire Chief for Isle of Palms Fire Department and Goose Creek Rural Fire Department. I have over 20 years in the fire service and have obtained my master's degree in fire executive leadership in emergency services and a bachelor's degree in organizational leadership. The South Carolina Emergency Management mission and vision statements. Our mission statement is, the South Carolina Emergency Management Division leads the state's emergency management program by supporting local authorities to minimize the loss of life and property from all hazard events. Our mission statement. The South Carolina Emergency Management Division envisions being recognized as an accomplished and innovative leader in emergency management, characterized by readiness, relevance, resilience, and responsibility. The South Carolina Emergency Management Strategic 5-Year Plan. The strategic plan will be based on a self-evaluation of capabilities. This plan specifies goals, tactics, and quantifiable benchmarks to accomplish the intended enhancements and objectives. We will enhance the state's preparedness and response capabilities through annual input from our stakeholders. We will also collaborate with state, county, and local emergency management agencies. County preparedness and enhance the ability to implement emergency management, preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation efforts. As we work into our 5-year plan, we will focus on emergency response enhancement. This is the utilization of GIS mapping and upgrading dispatch systems, which can speed up response times, boost the quality and quantity of emergency responders with training, the use of innovation technologies to communicate and track incidents in real time. For training and workforce development, by extending the emergency management and first responder training programs, we will also form alliances with academic institutions to offer certification courses and create programs for fire department officers to strengthen their leadership capabilities. For the infrastructure and equipment upgrades, we will replace outdated emergency response vehicles, ambulances, and fire engines. We will modernize emergency operations centers and fire stations and invest in innovative firefighting tools like thermal imaging cameras and drones. Disaster preparedness and community resilience. We will organize community outreach initiatives to promote disaster preparedness and fire safety. We will increase contracts for mutual aid with surrounding states and jurisdictions, which should strengthen and enhance public alerting systems for hurricanes and wildfire situations. For fire prevention and risk reduction, we will increase the number of fire safety inspections conducted in homes and businesses, enact stronger building regulations pertaining to fire-resistant material and high occupancy hazards. We will boost initiatives to lower the risk of wildland-urban interface fires. Data and technological integration. We will develop an integrated data system for tracking emergency incidents and responses. Use predictive analytics to pinpoint places that are high fire risk and improve emergency management systems. Cybersecurity. For funding and resource allocations, we will obtain funds and grants for initiatives that promote disaster preparedness and fire safety and create budgets for ongoing investments in infrastructure and equipment. Lastly, multi-agency coordination and planning. We will boost cooperation among law enforcement, emergency medical services, fire agencies, and nonprofits. We will collaborate on disaster response exercises with local, state, and federal organizations. We will conduct annual review and revise emergency response strategies. During emergencies, effective emergency management focuses on reducing fatalities, property damages, and community disturbances. Strategies for readiness, reaction, recovery, and mitigation are the foundations of an effective emergency management. Preparedness, which occurs prior to the incident, we will focus on training and drills. Responders are prepared for a variety of situations through regular training exercises, including tabletop and full-scale drills. Emergency plans will detail frequently be updated plans for responding to particular dangers such as hurricanes, wildfires, and chemical spills. Resource allocation. We will ensure the appropriate distribution and upkeep of facilities, staff, and equipment. For public awareness, we will inform people about emergency contacts, shelter places, and evacuation protocols. For mutual aid and automatic aid agreements, we will form alliances with other organizations to provide extra assistance in times of major crises. Our response, which occurs during the incident, we will focus on incident management system, which is an organized framework for effectively coordinating multi-agency response activities. We'll have real-time communication, which is efficient transmission of vital information via radios, smartphone apps, and emergency warning systems. Resource deployment. Search and rescue teams, fire departments, emergency medical services, and law enforcement will be quickly mobilized. Emergency shelter setups, route clearances, and mass evacuation coordination are all part of the evacuation and shelter operations. Public information and warnings. Accurate information should be promptly shared on TV, social media, and through emergency warnings. The medical response will make sure EMS and hospitals are equipped to handle high casualty incidents and scenarios. The recovery phase, which occurs after the incident, we will focus on damage assessments, which is the process of quickly assessing impacted areas to ascertain the degree of destruction and set up priorities for recovery. Infrastructure restoration. We will be restoring essential services, including transportation, water, and electricity. Community assistance programs. We will be offering financial and housing support to displaced families. For post-incident review, we will conduct writing reports after an incident to determine what went well and what needs to be improved upon. For mitigation, this is preventing or minimizing future incidents. We will focus on policies and regulation updates, apply lessons learned to update land use policies, fire safety rules, and construction codes. We'll be investing in resilient infrastructure, which includes enhancing emergency shelters, fortifying fire-resistant structures, and fortifying flood barriers. For continuous public education, we'll be promoting emergency kits and family communication plans as an example of personal readiness. Specialized teams and effectiveness. Incident management team. A state incident management team's performance, responsiveness, communication, and continuous improvement are evaluated using a mix of quantitative and qualitative matrices. Their effectiveness is based on their readiness to respond to an incident, incident documentation quality, and post-incident review and training. Hazardous material response team. A state hazmat team's readiness, response effectiveness, safety, and technical proficiency and ongoing development are all assessed as part of their performance evaluation. Their effectiveness is based on readiness to respond to an incident, equipment readiness, team availability, training frequencies, certification, time of containment or mitigation, and interagency coordination. For our water rescue response team, measuring a state's water rescue team involves tracking readiness, operational effectiveness, safety, teamwork, and continuous improvement, but tailored for aquatic environments. Their effectiveness is based on the readiness to respond to an incident, the equipment readiness, training frequency, certification, and interagency coordination. For our urban search and rescue, or USAR, our measuring matrix for the urban search and rescue team involves a mix of operational readiness, safety, and continuous improvement matrix, which is focused on their ability to rapidly respond to complex and multidisciplinary emergencies, such as collapses, entrapments, and large-scale disasters. Their effectiveness is based on readiness to respond to an incident, equipment readiness, training frequency, certification, rescue time, and interagency coordination. Fire department response and EMS during disasters. Immediate medical response. Typically, the fire department is the first medical personnel who arrive at mass casualty incidents. Rapid triage of patients employ methods like START or SALT. They are responsible for life-saving measures right away, such as management of airways, controlling bleeding, CPR and AEDs, and initial stabilization. For triage, treatment, and transportation coordination, the fire department is responsible for setting up and managing triage areas on scene. They'll be responsible for triaging patients into priority categories and communicate these needs to transport units. They will also coordinate with EMS agencies, hospitals, medical control for transportation decisions and ensure continuity of care from field to hospital. During technical rescue or specialized medical care, the fire department is responsible for providing medical support during technical rescues, such as collapsed structures, confined spaces, and water rescues. They will deliver care in hazardous environments while using specialized PPE and support decontamination and medical monitoring in hazardous material incidents. Incident Command Support Medical Branch. The fire department may assist in assigning EMS group supervisor or medical branch director roles within the incident command system. They will integrate with law enforcement, public health, and emergency management and maintain situational awareness and patient accountability. For public health and shelter medical support, the fire department may assist with mass shelter operations and field hospitals by providing paramedics and EMT support. For infrastructure support, the fire department may assist with supporting hospital facilities if they become overwhelmed or affected and help with medical evacuations from hospitals, nursing homes, and assisted living centers. Partnership with emergency management stakeholders. Building private sector partnerships. They will participate in industry associations by joining forces with state chambers of commerce, council for essential infrastructure, and organizations that are focused on an open door policy such as telecom, healthcare, transportation, and energy. The creation of business emergency operations centers. Establish forums where companies may communicate in real time about supply chain problems, resource availability, and situational awareness. They will lead exercises and workshops for public and private sectors. They will incorporate representatives from the private sector into planning sessions, emergency drills, and disaster drills. They will create agreements for recovery aid, resource sharing, such as trucks, fuel, or warehouses, and supply chains supported through MOUs. They will inform firms about risk and expectations through briefings, webinars, and newsletters. The creation of business emergency operations centers will be made. Working with elected officials. This can be achieved through giving governors, mayors, and county executive regular situational reports and planning updates. We will help elected leaders grasp procedures and decision points, invite them to take part in both tabletop and full-scale exercises. We will include them early on in conversations about financing sources, policy decisions, and emergency declarations. Prior to the crisis, we will coordinate clear public communication tactics with elected authorities to maintain continuity and confidence. Strengthening relationships with local public safety and emergency response agencies. This can be accomplished through creating and holding frequent regional emergency management committees, which includes representations from fire, police, emergency medical services, and public health sectors. We will encourage scenario-based planning meetings and multi-agency disaster drills. We will advocate for local needs at the state and federal levels and assist local agencies in obtaining homeland security and preparation grants. During disasters, we will establish safe channels such as apps, portals, and hotlines for ongoing information exchange between state and local agencies. Lastly, we will participate in community activities, publicly acknowledge the achievements of partner agencies, and establish in-person trust before the crisis arrives. Following common best practice across all partnership types, we will engage in proactive outreach, show up to neighborhood gatherings, and have an open door policy. We will prioritize public safety, economic continuity, and community resilience as group goals. We will increase proactive involvement not only in times of crisis, which is the foundation of a strong partnership, but prior to that. We will have after actions meetings with all partners and implement adjustments that are apparent in response to their suggestions. State and federal partnerships. Establish strong state agency collaborations can be accomplished by synchronizing strategies, schedule frequent meetings with departments such as Homeland Security, Agriculture, Transportation, Public Health, and Environmental Protection. We will be overseeing the development and upkeep of State Emergency Operations Plan, incorporating feedback from every state agency. We will direct cooperation during activations, making sure state agencies are represented in the Emergency Operations Center. We'll be assessing preparedness and coordination and lead statewide disaster exercises that include all state-level entities. We will also organize resource requests and distribute resources among state entities according to priority and necessity. Working with federal agencies such as FEMA or DHS. This can be achieved by regular phone calls or meetings, planning sessions and site visits with FEMA regional staff to ensure readiness and understanding of the state's needs. We will work with FEMA to request and manage federal disaster declarations, ensuring all documentation and damage assessments are accurate and timely. Administer Homeland Security grants, emergency management performance grants, and disaster recovery funding in compliance with federal guidelines. We will participate in federally led scenario-based exercises on a national level exercise. We will coordinate with FEMA and other federal agencies on long-term recovery, mitigation projects, and public assistance. When a FEMA incident management assistance team or federal urban search and rescue team deploys, the state emergency manager ensures integration into state operations. Communication and situational awareness can be achieved by engaging in state and federal conference calls and keeping the lines of communication open. To use FEMA's National Response Coordination Center bulletins, integrated public alert and warning systems, and Homeland Security Information Network to stay updated and share data. During disaster response, we will make sure that FEMA, state agencies, and the general public are all communicating in the same way. Advocacy and representation. By trying to influence legislation and fight for state needs, we'll get involved with national organizations such as the National Emergency Management Association. We will participate in debates and provide recommendations for modifications to government financing plans, regulation, and readiness programs. Coordinating wildland firefighting and automatic and mutual aid. Pre-season planning consists of assisting with state forestry, fire marshal, local fire departments, and emergency management partners. Maintain and update a thorough wildland fire response plan every year. To determine population impacts, high-risk locations, and risk to vital infrastructure using GIS-based hazard mapping. We'll be holding cooperative pre-season discussions with the following state forestry departments such as the Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management, Transportation, Public Health, State Police, and local fire departments, and utilize mutual aid coordinators. Mutual and automatic aid agreements ensure coordination during wildland fires by verifying that counties and state agencies and municipal fire departments have mutual aid agreements in place, including interstate compacts. We will incorporate the use of the EMAC to request and receive out-of-state firefighting resources and ensure that all mutual aid and automatic aid agreements contain explicit wording for resource management and reimbursement. Incident command and coordination methods. By making certain that all wildland fire operations are carried out using the incident command system and that local, state, and federal responders use a unified command strategy. At specified wildland fire threats level, we'll activate the State Emergency Operations Center to facilitate public communication, resource distribution, and logistics. We will assign a liaison officer from the state agency to the incident command post in order to help with resource requests and policy recommendations at a state level. Resource management and deployment can be achieved by an up-to-date record of all fire engines, bulldozers, water tenders, airplanes, staff, and communication equipment. We will arrange procedures in advance for statewide deployment of strike teams, task forces, and overhead staff. Lastly, working with state and federal partners to pre-arrange contracts and coordinate procedures for drones, helicopters, and air tankers. For communication systems, we need to verify that digital radio interoperability plans and fire mutual aid and automatic aid frequencies are established at the state level and provide all agencies, stakeholders, and elected officials with daily or incident-based updates from the EOC. Evacuations and public warning coordination. Through working with local agencies to create a pre-scripted evacuation message and zones and coordinate large-scale public warnings for evacuation orders and fire progression updates. Post-incident actions will assist in evaluating response effectiveness, communication problems, and resource shortfalls. This can be done by conducting after-action reviews with federal, state, and local authorities, and integrate after-action reviews results into community wildfire preparedness programs, fuel management strategies, and state mitigation measures. Current and emerging trends impacting emergency responses. For gaining and building trust in the communities, the emergency management must have transparent communication, partnerships with community and leaders, preparedness education, and combating misinformation. This can be achieved by preserving transparency. Agencies will implement real-time, multi-channel communications, such as community meetings, SMS warnings, and social media. As a reliable messenger, emergency managers are enlisted community organizations, faith-based organizations, and local leaders. Emergency managers will actively pursue outreach initiatives to increase trust and compliance during events by educating communities about plans prior to the disaster. Credibility is to be increased by responding quickly to false information and by giving regular updates and correcting those false communications. Taking care of our responders starts with mental health support, fatigue management, training, and recognition and retention. The Emergency Management Division should help increase access to post-incident debriefings, counseling services, and peer support groups by putting in place obligatory downtime regulations, relaxation periods, and appropriate shift scheduling. Programs are being developed to help responders develop their coping mechanisms and mental fortitude, in addition to their physical readiness. To keep employees motivated and committed, states are giving priority to long-term professional development, hazard compensation, and recognition programs. Building equity by increasing diversity in emergency response teams has an overwhelming positive effect. This can be accomplished through inclusive recruitment, cultural compliance training, leadership representation, and equitable response planning. To broaden application pools, states are collaborating with educational institutions and historical underrepresented communities. We will be providing continuous training to help responders comprehend the many needs of their community, including as cultural sensitive and language access. Agencies should deliberately emphasize on encouraging diversity in emergency management agencies' senior positions. They need to make sure they take into consideration vulnerable groups such as the elderly, the disabled, non-native English speaking or speakers, and economically disadvantaged groups. Emergency plans are currently undergoing reevaluations. Training and professional development. Training programs should consist of a multi-hazard training, live simulation, and tabletop exercises across agency training and technology-based training. Using realistic disaster simulations can improve collaboration and decision-making in high-stress situations. Cooperation with law enforcement, emergency medical services, the military, and public health organizations to enhance communication, along with creating immersive training environments with mobile simulations, augmented reality, and virtual reality. Professional development focuses on leadership development, continuous learning platforms, mentorship programs, and advanced certifications. Agencies should invest in initiatives to develop crisis decision-making abilities in operational leaders and incident commanders. Criteria for yearly recertification and on-demand e-learning program should be in place in order to impart experience-based information. Senior firefighters and first responders should mentor younger staff members. Promoting certificates for advanced certificates in hazardous material handling, emergency management, and specialized rescue methods can help individuals obtain these advanced certifications. Preparing for future disaster, agencies should emphasize scenario forecasting and planning, community engagement, interdisciplinary collaboration, along with resilience and wellness programs. Preparing for future disasters must consist of training on climate change impacts, cyber threats, and the evolving disaster patterns. We will be educating responders on how to collaborate with a variety of communities, including vulnerable and unique populations. We will be integrating stress reduction, physical training, and psychological first aid into readiness. This should include data analysts, scientists, and climate specialists in training simulations to develop a more evidence-based predictive response strategy. For emerging trends, agencies should focus on data and AI analytics in the decision-making process. We will also need to emphasize drone and robotic operations, climate resilience, and public information officer training. This concludes my presentation. Does anybody have any comments or questions? I left my contact information up here. I do appreciate your time. I have my email up here and my phone number. Thank you very much. I hope you all have a wonderful and safe day.